Okay, well, welcome everybody. Coach Kevin Sparks here, and we are going to go ahead and get started. First thing I want to go ahead and do is share my screen with you, share some things that I think will be valuable to us meeting today, and also even going forward with some things that we're going to be doing. Okay, so first thing I would like to do is share with you that we have a Facebook group that coincides with this meetup. Okay. The Facebook group has the exact same name. It just doesn't have a city attached to it. So it's I want to be really rich and I do not apologize for it. So if you are on Facebook, you can take the name of the meetup and just search for that and find it. The other thing you could do is you could go to facebook.com/groups /I want to be really rich. Okay. So why would you want to join us here in the Facebook group? A couple of reasons. One, I'm not going to spend a lot of time right now if this is your first time on with us. This is now our 12th time together. But if this is your first time with us, you might wonder what we're about. Well, what I did in here is I went ahead and I posted a video that talks about what we're about. The other thing that we do is we go ahead, if you look here and you see dates, well, what we do is we take the recordings each day, as long as I remember to hit the record button. Occasionally in the past, I have forgotten, but I have not forgotten so far for any of these 12 sessions. So that's awesome. And you're able to go on and see what we've done in the past. Why would you want to do that? Well, you might want to catch up potentially if we're studying or going through and taking apart certain material. We may take 2 or 3 or 4 or several days to go through something specific, and that would help you get caught up. The other reason you might want to do it, because you like something you heard today and something you heard or saw, and you're like, oh, I want to review that. So this is where you can typically find it either later on this afternoon, this evening, or maybe sometime tomorrow morning, but usually within 24, no more than 48 hours. The previous day's recording gets posted in the group as long as the recording was made. So you can also interact. The other reason is it's another place to interact with us outside of the 45 minutes that we have together Mondays through Friday. That is Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock Pacific time, where I am in the San Diego area. East Coast, that would be 1 p.m. your time. And if you're somewhere in the middle, fill in the gap for your time. But we do this Monday through Friday. Um, Obviously, there's some holidays and things coming up, so we probably won't have it actually on Thanksgiving Day or Christmas Day, right? But we will probably have it on like Christmas Eve kind of thing and New Year's Eve kind of thing. So just wanted to give you that heads up. Also, what I would like to share with you now is something that we are actually in the process of going over together as a group. It's a particular book that we started off on a few days, well, several days ago, close to the beginning. And we are currently on page 60 of 77 of this particular PDF file. Now, the book is called The Science of Getting Rich. The book is called The Science of Getting Rich. It was written by a gentleman by the name of Wallace Wattles. I want to tell you how you can go get a copy for free. You can get paid copies. You can buy a paperback copy. Very easy to do that. You can get it on Kindle, probably not free, but pretty cheap. However, if you want a free copy and if you want this specific copy, let me tell you how to get it. That way you can follow along even by page if you want to. I went ahead, all I did was simply type in Science of Getting Rich PDF into Google, and organically, either the first or second result that popped up was thesecret.tv was the beginning of the site. And here's what I knew. The Secret is probably, yes, that is what you're thinking it is. It is the movie and the book that was created by Rhonda Byrne. So Rhonda Byrne, why did she bother to put this book up there and give it out to people for free, The Science of Getting Rich? Well, it was the book that her daughter gave her, and that book changed her life. It was the start of her, I won't say, of her law of attraction journey. I was say personal development, but I don't truly know. But it was the start of her law of attraction journey. And it is the reason she chose to create the movie and book The Secret. So that's why she's giving it away. Go get it there for free if you want to. Okay, and you can follow along with us on page 60 when we get into the tearing this apart and reading it and whatnot. The other thing, a reason why I chose this book, is the impact that it's had on my life. I'm going to give you kind of a little genealogy here. Okay, I was given this book, so I'm going to go more present time and then make my way backwards versus the other way around. I was shown this book and attended a seminar called The Science of Getting Rich. It was a 3-day seminar that was taught by a Bob Proctor coach and facilitator by the name of Leslie Householder. Okay. And after the 3-day seminar, Leslie also gave me a self-study course by Bob Proctor. If you don't know who Bob Proctor is, he's highlighted in the book and the movie The Secret. He also has his own book called You Were Born Rich, and he's been in the personal development field for many years. But he had, again, a coach and facilitator for his programs. I went to a 3-day seminar. After that, she gave me a self-study course around this. So it was definitely, all this was longer than 77 pages. And I devoured it. I loved the seminar, devoured the self-study course. And my income at the time that I went to the seminar was in the $5,000 to $6,000 a month range. Afterwards, by the time April had rolled around, so I went to this seminar in mid-February. By the time April 1st had rolled around of that year, I actually was able to quit my job and become a full-time entrepreneur, a full-time business owner, full-time self-employed, however you want to look at it. And my income jumped. Bob Proctor had spoken about the idea, the thought process of how would you like to make your annual income your monthly income? And of course, I love the idea. However, I didn't know how to do it or necessarily even believe it was possible yet. But as I went into this subject and I studied it basically for an hour to 3 hours a day over the next 2 months to 3 months, it dawned on me that it was possibility. And I decided, you know what, as long as others have done it, which that shouldn't have been the reason I decided, because somebody else was able, I could, but that is kind of how our brain thinks. If other people have made that possibility in their life a reality, then I'd want to have something like that happen too. The other thing I wanted is I didn't want to work a bunch of hours. I'd been working 50 to 60 hours a week for the $5,000 to $6,000 a month I was earning. And I always thought that I would have to work I'd have to work a lot more hours to make more money. And I did not like that idea. I felt I worked enough as it was. And I had been involved in professions and things typically that had me working that 60 plus hours a week. And truthfully, I just didn't want to do that anymore. So I also had to come up with the idea and belief that I could do it working part-time. Well, I did. My income jumped over the next 8 months. It fluctuated, but it averaged out to $50,000 plus a month. And my hours worked got cut way down. Those hours worked averaged about 10 to 15, no more than about 20 hours a week worked. So big jump in income, big decrease in hours worked, loved it, a lot more freedom. And so Leslie Householder was taught by Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor was taught by Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant. They received this particular book and read it, and they decided to create the Nightingale Conant Corporation, which was the first essentially I won't say creator, other people created this stuff, but the first personal development company out there that made personal development materials basically available to the masses to start learning about self-help, personal development, and even law of attraction related things. But they read this book, and that's when they decided, as a result of reading this book, that they were going to create that company. And Bob Proctor was mentored by them. I hired Bob once upon a time after I went through the seminar and the course and things, but I actually hired Bob to be my coach. And he has been my coach. He isn't currently, but he has been. And he trained me also to be one of his coaches and facilitators for his program. However, now I'm independent, yet I stay in touch with his organization. There you go. And stay in touch with a lot of people. Matter of fact, I mastermind with several coaches and facilitators with his programs. and we help train and coach each other from time to time. So I just wanted to share that with you because this book was the start for me. Maybe not the start of all my personal development, but this was essentially the thing that clicked for me, and I made a big leap. It may or may not click for you that way. You may find something else. And by the way, this isn't the only thing we're going to go through or share as we go on, day after day, week after week, month after month. This is just what I felt would be a good start, especially since what we're working on. Thank you, Siri. Sorry, there my phone went off. This is something that I've utilized also as a coach to help other people have breakthroughs around money relatively quickly. Okay. So I do highly recommend that you do get yourself a copy of this book and go through it. I recommend that you go back through past recordings and follow along with us if you'd like to. And what I'm going to do, so right now, first of all, anybody who's typed into chat, hoping I would see it and respond, I haven't even opened up chat to respond or look at it because it'll get me sidetracked with what we're trying to do right now. Here's what we're going to do. We're going forward today. I'm going to share some things from this particular book. I'm going to read it to you. If you don't have it yourself, you can follow along because I'm sharing my screen. And I'm going to add commentary where I feel that it could be helpful. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to save some time at the end, usually somewhere around maybe 10 to 15 minutes at the end of this, where we can go ahead and you can share comments, you can share experiences, and you can ask questions. Everybody can, and we can interact that way. I'm not saying everybody is going to say something. That's up to you guys. But if you have questions about what we're going through or things that you feel that you'd want to share, or ahas that you're catching or have had, or great experiences yourself manifesting money and wealth in your life, that's the time that we'll go ahead and do that. So for now, though, what I want to go ahead and do is get started right here. I'm not sure, this is a chapter called Getting into the Right Business. It is on page 60 of this particular PDF if you want to follow along. And I'm going to, I know you can't see some of the things I'm doing. I'm doing a few things with Zoom just to make this easier for me to see my screen. Okay, getting into the right business. Now, you don't necessarily, to get what you want out of life and to do well financially, to make a lot of money, to develop wealth, you don't necessarily have to own your own business. What you really have to do is you have to understand what it is you really want. And not just saying, I want a pile of cash. That's actually not what you really want, okay? Now, you might think that's what you want, but at the core of it, you want to develop in all that you can develop and become all you can become. You also want to do the things you want to do and have the things you want to have. And money is the means of exchange we use in our society to obtain these things typically, all right? Yes, there are times where you don't need money to receive something in your life. I've been given a car before, a very nice car to use, and I did not pay for it. It was a six-figure car given to me by a partner. I didn't buy that car, but guess what? He did. So there was money involved, and I could have bought the car. That's not the point of it. It wasn't that I couldn't afford the car, but it was given to me, but there was still money involved in the transaction. So there's typically going to be money involved in anything out there. Whether or not it's our money being used to bring it into our life or somebody else's, that remains to be seen, depending about how God and the universe go about providing it for us. But getting into the right business, you might be guided and directed to get into a particular business or profession or line of work. And oftentimes, especially when you are talking about wanting to have a lot of money and wealth, a lot of times it will be through some kind of business because of the flexibility you have to work with God and the universe and determine how much money you would want to make and how much it can generate for you versus a typical job. Okay. But there are people that also find ways to get paid very, very well working for someone else, and it totally meets their desires. But I just wanted to share that in case somebody asked me once upon a time, they're like, I don't feel like I want to be an entrepreneur or business owner Do I have to in order to make a lot of money? Now, I'm not saying you actually have to become an NBA player or an actor or actress in the movies either to do it. Here's what I say: you need to know what you want. And the earlier chapters of this book function heavily on helping you understand that and helping you determine what it is that you want your life to really be like. And then let God provide the intuition, inspiration, and revelation to you to tell you and guide and direct you what direction you need to go. And then you need to be open to receiving that and following that guidance so that you can actually receive what it is that you've asked for and what it is that you want for your life. Okay? But Wallace is talking about getting into the right business. He also in this book talks about professions and things too, and jobs if you want those. Getting into the right business. Success in any particular business depends for one thing upon your possessing in a well-developed state the faculties required in that business. By the way, this book was published in 1910. I'm sharing that with you because the way that Wallace Wattles speaks in this book to us through his writing, through kind of his voice, may be different than what you're used to. Don't let that get in the way. Just be here for the spirit of this and be open to receive the message that he's wanting to share, because it has helped a lot of people over the years and it continues to do so. Without good musical faculty, for instance, no one can succeed as a teacher of music. Without well-developed mechanical faculties, no one can achieve great success in any of the mechanical trades. Without tact and the commercial faculties, no one can succeed in mercantile pursuits. But to possess in a well-developed state the faculties required in your particular vocation does not ensure getting rich. There are musicians who have remarkable talent who yet remain poor. There are blacksmiths, carpenters, and so on who have excellent mechanical ability, but who do not get rich. And there are merchants with good faculties for dealing with men who nevertheless fail. Different faculties are tools. It is essential to have good tools, but it's also essential that the tools should be used in the right way. And the right way, I believe he's referring to, he may give some different examples, but the right way is by following the laws that govern the universe and that govern us manifesting in our life what we want, particularly in relationship to material possessions, wealth, and money. Okay. One man can take a sharp saw, a square, a good plane, and so on, and build a handsome article of furniture. Another man can take the same tools and set to work to duplicate the article, but his production will be a botch. He does not know how to use good tools in a successful way. The various faculties of your mind, okay, are the tools with which you must do the work which will make you rich. Let me repeat this to you, okay? Very, very, very important. It starts here. This is the most important part, okay? It's not all the things you learn about entrepreneurship, running a business, being an investor, things like that that are going to matter. It's not necessarily going to be the skills of what you've learned from other people specifically. Like if in a particular profession you're studying in school or college or trade school for that profession, that will help you learn the ins and outs, but that will not assure that you get rich. The various faculties of your mind, though, are the tools with which you must do the work, which is to make you rich. And Wallace has talked in several chapters about how to do that, and he'll continue as we go on. It will be easier for you, excuse me, to succeed if you get into a business for which you are well equipped with mental tools. Generally speaking, you will do best in that business which will use your strongest faculties, the one for which you're naturally best fitted. But there are limitations to this statement also. No man or woman should regard their vocation as being irrevocably fixed by the tendencies with which they were born. You can get rich in any business, for if you have not the right talent, you can develop that talent. It merely means you'll have to make your tools as you go along. Instead of confining yourself to the use of those with which you were born, it will be easier for you to succeed in a vocation for which you already have the talents and well-developed state. But you can succeed in any vocation, for you can develop any rudimentary talent, and there is no talent of which you have not at least the rudiment. Now, this is important to understand, though. You will get rich most easily, in point of fact, if you do that for which you're best fitted. But, excuse me, you'll get rich most satisfactorily if you do that which you want to do. Doing what you want to do is life. There is no real satisfaction in living if we are compelled to be forever doing something we do not like to do and can never do what we want to do. And it is certain that you can do what you want to do. How do you know that? The desire to do it is proof that you have within you the power which can do it. Desire is manifestation of power. When you have this urge to go do something, it means you do have within you the spark, at least, of the ability to do that thing. You may already be very well equipped and ready to do it, or you may need to develop more to be able to do it well. But again, simply the desire means the power is available to you to do it. The desire to play music is the power which can play music, seeking expression and development. The desire to invent mechanical devices is the mechanical talent seeking expression and development. Where there is no power, either developed or undeveloped, to do a thing, there's never any desire to do that thing. Think about that for a minute. People are, what is it that I'm supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to become? Look, no desire, then it's probably not meant for you. Where there's no power, either developed or undeveloped, to do a thing, there's never any desire to do that thing. So it's not even going to really come to your mind, okay? You're not going to dwell upon it at all. And where there is strong desire to do a thing, it is certain proof that the power to do is strong. It only requires to be developed and applied in the right way, which Wallace has been teaching us and taught in other chapters. All things else being equal, it is best to select, so this is if everything files out equally, it is best to select the business for which you have the best developed talent. That's going to make it easier for you, okay? But if you have a strong desire to engage in any particular line of work, you should select that work as the ultimate end at which you aim. You can do what you want to do, and it is your right and privilege to follow the business or avocation which will be most congenial and pleasant. You are not obliged to do what you do not like to do, and you should not do it except as a means to bring you to the doing of the thing you want to do. If there are past mistakes whose consequences have placed you in an undesirable business or environment, you may be obliged for some time to do what you do not like to do, but you can make the doing of it pleasant by knowing that it is making it possible for you to come to the doing of what you want to do. If you feel that you're not in the right vocation, do not act too hastily in trying to get into another one. The best way generally to change business or environment is by growth. Do not be afraid to make sudden and radical change if the opportunity is presented, and here's the important part, and if you feel after careful consideration that it is the right opportunity. But never take sudden or radical action when you're in doubt as to the wisdom in doing so. There's never any hurry on the creative plane, and there is no lack of opportunity. Let me repeat that. There is never any hurry on the creative plane, and there is no lack of opportunity. But there's a difference between the creative plane, creative mind, and the competitive plane, competitive mind. When you get out of the competitive mind, you will understand that you never need to act hastily. No one is going to beat you to the thing you want to do. There is enough for all. If one space is taken, Another and a better one will be open for you a little farther on. There is plenty of time. Let me repeat that. No one else is going to beat you to the thing you want to do. There is enough for all. If one space is taken, another and a better one will be open for you a little farther on. I really, really, truly, myself, there's plenty of time. I truly had to get myself to understand that. And I'll tell you what, it's played out in my life a lot. There have been times where I really wanted something, but I learned to ask for this or something even better. And when the thing I wanted fell through, instead of getting upset, I'm not saying I never did, but I'm now to the point where I say I'm actually get more excited, because when something falls through for me, I put in the order of this or something better every single time, as long as I don't collapse in on myself with my attitude and I keep my attitude up. Every single time, something actually better than what I originally was asking for is what ended up manifesting because of that attitude. But if I had not had that attitude, that something even better will come along, and typically in a short period of time, which almost every time it is, then I wouldn't have actually received the better thing or the thing I wanted or anything like it. Instead, I would have just received disappointment, discouragement, and things like that, because I would have looked at what I thought was a failure of a result that I wanted and would have stewed over it, and then that would have helped me attract more garbage and more failure. Instead, I didn't look at it as failure. I'm not saying always, but now that's not how I look at it. Therefore, again, I get excited because I know, oh my gosh, God in the universe, I asked for something I want that's really, really cool, that I think is awesome. And it's not happening. They're going to give me something better. Oh my gosh. And I'm not worried about how it's going to happen. I just get excited that that's what's going to happen. A day or two spent in contemplating the vision of what you want, in earnest thanksgiving that you are getting it, will bring your mind into such close relationship with the Supreme that you will make no mistake when you do act. You will be following perfect revelation, inspiration, and intuition. There is a mind which knows all there is to know, and you can come into close unity with it, with this mind, by faith and the purpose to advance in life, if you have deep gratitude. Okay? You've got to be in an attitude of gratitude. You've got to be in an attitude of joy. You've got to be in an attitude of thankfulness and appreciation. You can't be a sourpuss about this thing, okay? That'll just bring you what you don't want. Mistakes come from acting hastily, and hastily means without knowing that it was what you're supposed to do, without having that revelation, inspiration, intuition. Or you do receive that revelation, inspiration, intuition, and what you do is you go, okay, cool. I now have been told by God in the universe what direction to go. But then you act out of fear, doubt, and forgetfulness of the right motive, which is more life to all and less to none. You start going on the competitive plane instead of the creative plane. And that's where fear, doubt, and things like that tend to pop up in our lives. As you go on in the certain way, what is the certain way? It is by following the laws of the universe. We'll go through some of that's been talked about in past chapters. In the future, maybe not strictly through this particular book, but through other things. I'll share that stuff with you too. But as you go on in the certain way, which means obeying the laws, doing what Wallace has been telling us to do, opportunities will come to you in increasing number. Now, here's the interesting thing. And you will need to be very steady in your faith and purpose to keep in close touch with the All Mind by reverent gratitude. Opportunities are going to pop up, and you need to follow your personal revelation, inspiration, and intuition. Opportunities, though, are now going to become the norm for you. That doesn't mean every opportunity that pops up is the right one, just because a bunch of them are starting to pop up now. That's why, and you need to be very steady in your faith and purpose. Don't get sidetracked from what it is that you have decided that you want to manifest. And keep in close touch with All Mind by reverent gratitude. Somebody, I don't know who it is, came off a mute or just started making noise. If you could go on mute until we say it's time for the sharing, then that would be awesome. Thank you. Do all that you can do in a perfect manner every day, but do it without haste, worry, or fear. Go as fast as you can, but never hurry. All this has been talked about in previous chapter. Remember that in the moment you begin to hurry, you cease to be a creator and become a competitor. You drop back upon the old plane again. Wherever you find yourself hurrying, call a halt, or whenever, you find yourself hurrying, call a halt. Fix your attention on the mental image of the thing you want and begin to give thanks that you are getting it. The exercise of gratitude will never fail to strengthen your faith and renew your purpose. So go back to gratitude anytime you feel yourself kind of going helter-skelter, all right? Bring yourself back and connect again with God and the universe. Just chill out, go back to what it is that you want and focus on that and be thankful that you're getting it. And I say, take it a step further, live it in your life and be thankful that you have it already. Be thankful that you have it already. Wallace talked about that a little bit earlier in the chapter on gratitude. Okay. Impression of increase. We're not going to go there right now. We're going to go ahead and go there tomorrow. Okay, so here we are. So essentially, here's what we can go ahead and do right now. Based upon what we've been reading, if you have any questions about it, terrific. This would be a good time to ask those questions. Based upon what we're reading, if you have any comments or any ahas that came to you, terrific, please share those. If you've had successes in your life, continuous successes in your life, manifesting money, wealth, and material things, I'm not saying those are the only things we can manifest in life, but our focus right now is the science of getting rich, okay? And the purpose behind that. If you've had the ability and successes doing that, feel free to share those. What would not be a good thing to share would be, for instance, hey, I joined such and such XYZ MLM, and I think I'm going to make a lot of money there. Come join me in that. This is not an appropriate place to do that, okay? That I don't think the people in the group would appreciate that. So, but if you have questions around the law of attraction, comments, whatever it is, now would be the time. So what you do is just come off mute and start asking your question, and we'll take it in the order it happens. Now, hang on one second. What I'm going to do is we're going to go until 10:45 my time. So we got about 10 minutes, whatever your time is. I'm not going to go away after that though. Okay, at least not today. If you need to go, I totally get it. 100%. This is meant to be 45 minutes. A lot of times though, we get into discussion and questions and things and people want to keep going. So I'm usually willing to stick around for another 5 to 15 minutes to kind of, because some of you guys, if you don't get that question answered and you don't get the opportunity to ask it, you just won't be able to sleep tonight. So, all right. Any comments or questions that you would like to share with us? Go ahead and come off mute and ask it.
Well, Kevin, if no one else is going to talk,
Go ahead.
I'd like to say hello to you. It's the first time I'm meeting you.
Awesome.
I'm excited that you know Bob Proctor. Years ago, I guess in the early 2000s somewhere, when The Secret came out, a friend of mine actually gave it to me. And I, at that point, was in a dead-end job. I hated it, hated my manager, the whole 9 yards. And I figured I needed to change the way that I thought. I needed new neural pathways.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched The Secret every night for 9 months.
Oh, wow. That's pretty dedicated. Awesome.
Go ahead.
And what happened for you?
Well, believe it or not, within 3 days of watching it, people were coming up to me in the office saying, "What are you doing? You look different." And I had no idea that my energy was changing, actually changing from watching it. And then within 3 weeks of watching it, I got a call from an agency I had never heard of. They offered me a job closer to my home doing the exact same thing that I was doing, only with training and help. And it was 2.5 times as much as I was making.
That's
Now,
awesome. That's
it was a,
awesome.
it was a temp job. So that was
Okay.
a struggle because I
Okay.
was in a permanent place, but 2.5 times the amount of salary, and it was just a year contract. That was a little iffy, but I went with it.
Sure.
And I was able to make the 1 year contract go into 2.5 years. And then I had a couple months off and I landed another job making almost the exact same money for another 2 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Has it kind of stayed an upward trajectory, or have you gotten stuck along the way?
Well, I've since retired.
Okay.
So
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. But um, during that time, I had made a vision board, and on my vision board, for some reason, I have $220 million on that vision board,
Okay.
and I haven't reached it. And now I
Okay.
don't know what to do.
Okay. Are you kind of want to know how to reach it?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay.
mean, I'm working in a job that I like now. It's my own thing that I'm doing,
Okay.
but um, I can't see it as making $220 million, but maybe
Okay.
I'm wrong.
Okay. Well, first of all, you're focusing the one of the reasons it's not and I haven't made 220 million. Okay. Um, my best is right around 100 grand a month. Okay. So, but that's not too bad for now. And I also doing that working 10, 15 hours a week is all right too. Okay.
Okay.
That's all right too. What I will tell you though is that you're focusing on the how, which you don't know how right now. Okay, so
Right.
you shouldn't even be focused there. But also, what you're doing is you're focusing on channels. Now, Bob Proctor and others will talk about multiple streams of income, right? Or multiple
Mhm.
sources. He likes to say MSI, multiple sources of income. I want to change the semantics a little bit, and let's talk about source. Your source is God in the universe. Okay, that is source. Nothing else is source. Okay, that is source. There are other things though, which are channels with which they deliver things to you. For
Okay.
instance, your job is a way you receive income right now and pay your bills or whatever, right? That's a channel. But what happens a lot of times, I'll use, and by the way, I'm not anti-MLM or anything. I just didn't want people coming on here and saying, I'm in this business, come join me. But what some people do is they join something and they pick a profession or they pick a business, not because they were led to do it necessarily. They might have been, but because they think that is the thing that will pay them the most, right? Or they see someone there and they go, oh my gosh, like MLM is a good example. Hey, there are people that make millions of dollars in XYZ company. And so if so and so can do it, maybe I can too. Okay, terrific, fine. And then what happens is they're trained, which is great, and they get better, but they're essentially basically trained also to think that this is the be all end all because you can make as much money as you want to make and there's no limits or anything else. So what the person does is anytime now that they want to receive something into their life financially, they think it has to come through making that business grow.
Mm,
That
mm.
it had, okay, I gotta, recruit more people, I gotta sell more stuff, I gotta receive more money through this channel. Now they don't think of it as channel. They're thinking of it as the source. That is my source of income because I don't have other sources of income. No, God and the universe are your source, and the channels they can provide things to you are totally unlimited. What your focus needs to be on, 220 million might be a dollar figure that came to you, just out,
Mhm.
and it may feel good too, of course it would, right? But I mean, it may actually feel like, yeah, I'm supposed to do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's more important to understand about all this is, what does the 220 million represent? What is going to be done with that 220 million? Because our brains don't think it, our brain's going to fight us on money a lot of times, but it's not going to
Mhm.
fight us about what we want. I'm not saying it's going to instantly deliver it, but it's not going to say you shouldn't want that. It's
Mhm.
going to try and tell you you don't know how to get it.
Mhm.
Okay. But it's not going to necessarily try and tell you you shouldn't want it. Okay. So, for instance, having a money goal is okay, but really it's representative of freedom to you. Here's why you may or may not want $220 million. Every single one of us has the ability to become more than we've become, to be more than we currently are. We're always wanting to progress, okay, in life. That's why we wonder why we achieve a particular goal or receive a certain thing in our life, and others look at other people that are wealthy and go, man, where are they going to stop? Well, how much, when's enough? Well, on the competitive plane, that's different, but let's talk on the creative plane. Why on the creative plane would somebody who has pretty much everything that they need and the ability to pay for whatever they want and already drive a nice car, live in a nice house, why do they keep going with this thing? Because that urge is always going to be there and they're trying to fill that urge. But what it is knowing that you haven't become everything you can become, or you haven't done all you're capable of doing, and you don't have everything that you would have liked to have had so far. And the problem is too, I won't call it a problem. It's actually not a problem. It's just how we're designed. One thought that we have of plenty, once we receive plenty, which is great, leads us to want to think other thoughts of plenty. So they multiply, meaning we receive something good in our life. Now we want more. Okay.
Mhm.
And so now we can actually, our vision opens up and we're no longer down in the dumps, broke and destitute. And so our vision opens up to the possibility of more and more and more and more and more. We're never going to stop wanting to become more than we can become. We'll never have done everything that we've ever wanted to do, because by doing something new, you now become aware of other things.
Mm.
So new possibilities it's always going to bring a more thing. That's because here on planet Earth, this is my opinion, okay? But here on planet Earth is not the end of our life. It might be the end of the way it is right now, right here, but I don't think we're going to poof out of existence. We're going to progress only so far, though, in this life. And then we'll continue to progress on through the journey after, whatever that may look like, for us. But I don't think we're done progressing. So because we're not going to completely fulfill everything we're capable of becoming, we're going to continue to want to continue to grow and progress. And we're not even going to be able to progress to our fullest while we're here anyway. Okay. So we're never going to stop wanting things. 220 million for you might represent doing something specific or a certain level of freedom, but $220 million will not motivate you to do it. If you were motivated, how long ago did you think of the $220 million?
Oh, probably, I'm going to guess 2006. I mean, I'm not sure when The
Okay, back
Secret.
in The Secret came out? Yes. So you're at 14-ish years. It came out in May of 2006. I know
Oh,
that.
did it?
Yeah, I know
Okay.
that because I met the Bob Proctor facilitator and everything a few months before that.
Okay.
So it was May of 2006. So that's when it came to your mind. It's cool. And you can still accomplish it, but you haven't made it a burning desire to accomplish it because you don't even know what $220 million even represents right now.
Hmm.
Do you really know what you would go buy with $220 million? Do you even know what you would do with that money right now? If you had it today, exactly what it would be used for?
Yeah, I mean, I'd buy a new house and the rest would sit in the bank.
Okay, so the rest sitting in the bank, universe doesn't like that
Ah, why not?
because what you're trying to do is take the universe out of the equation and make money your God. Now, you might freak out when I say that. The reason you probably want that money sitting in the bank is so you don't have to ask the universe for money anymore.
I never thought about it that way. I just think it would give me a sense of security.
Yeah, but you don't need anywhere near $220 million to have a sense of security.
Yeah, but I don't know why that amount is
Right.
was just,
And again, I'm not telling you not to want it. I'm not telling you you weren't even inspired to receive that thought, but you really haven't gone into the why I would want it other than I'm going to put it in the bank somewhere and feel secure.
well, I
Don't
mean, people are throwing in comments about tithing and things like that. Of course, I would help
Sure,
charities and things
sure.
like
Yeah. No,
not,
that's why I'm not bringing all that up, right?
I'm
I get
totally,
it. And when I said, what I said, it was a little bit to shock you a little bit, okay, about making money your God. But what we want is we've been suppressed in our life, most of us, okay, financially.
mhm.
So we want a certain amount of money because what it represents to us is we are no longer bound by asking someone else for what we want. We
Mm.
want to just be able to go out and buy it when we want to buy it. Because so many times we've wanted something and we weren't able to go buy it. And usually why we want to buy things. Have you read The Science of Getting Rich, by the way?
No.
Okay. So definitely read it. It's not a long read. It's only like 70-ish pages, 80 pages, whatever it is. So definitely read it. But the reason we want money is because we unfold ourselves by using things. What do I mean by that? We'll take a piano player as just a for instance, okay? A child, and we'll take a child. And I know some of you heard me because I've repeated this, but I want this to stick with you guys that've been with me a few days on this whole idea. So you understand why you have the desire for money. Because a 6, 7, or 8-year-old kid who wants to play the piano doesn't think in terms of money. They think in terms of, I want to play the piano. Okay. And let's say their household has no piano, right? Well, let's pretend that the seed within this little boy is that to be able to become one of the best concert pianists the world has ever seen. We don't know that right now. All we know is the boy, and we're their parent, right? All we know is that the boy wants to play the piano and we don't have money to buy a piano. We we don't have the money, our house is too small to fit one. We've got all these reasons why we're not going to go get a piano. The neighbors, because the neighborhood we live in, they're pretty much like us. They don't have pianos either. And even if they did, there's no way that my son could play the piano enough at their house without them throwing him out to actually develop into the concert pianist that he could become. So he needs a piano in order to unfold. And he doesn't know that. He just has this drive for music and this drive to learn the piano. But because you don't have the money to buy your son that piano, that son is never going to become the concert pianist. Interesting, huh? How many things do we have inside of us that could have developed that haven't because we didn't have the use of things to go
Mm.
develop our talent or ability? If somebody has the ability to become a sports star and they don't have the equipment or things they need or the guidance and direction of the coach they need to become that person, then they won't unfold into that either. But we'll never know that that boy could have been what he could have been. Now, what could have happened is that boy, maybe when he gets a little older, will figure out if he hasn't given up on the idea by then because he's gotten frustrated that nobody will get him a piano and nobody will pay for lessons and nobody would drive him to the piano teacher's house anyway, and la-di-da-di-da. Eventually that boy goes, screw it. I mean, not that he might be too young to think it that way, but I'm just not going to do that. But he's going to have a broken heart around that thing because inside what you have is one of the world's best concert pianists, but we're not going to know that and he's not going to get to develop that. And that's going to harm his spirit. So money is important. Money represents a freedom. Now, if the family had plenty of money and space in the house for the piano, of course, mom and dad would buy the piano. Boom, there it is. And the child would play and play and play and play. And you would figure out, oh my gosh, just naturally, he's pretty good at this. And you have the money to actually take him somewhere and get some additional training and lessons. And then that person goes, oh my gosh, I think we might have a genius here when it comes to playing the piano. Did you realize your son could do this, this, and this? No, I didn't realize. Yeah, we've seen other prodigies do this, and your son is one of those. Oh, so what do we need to do? Well, maybe he should go to Juilliard. I'm just throwing stuff out there, right? All of that stuff costs money. So we need to understand the science of getting rich. That's what the book is about. It says it's not about having a stack of cash. You can have a stack of cash, that's fine, but that's not very useful. The science of getting rich is important to understand because it opens up that freedom so that we can then develop ourselves in all that we can become without the restriction of not having the use of the things we need to actually use to develop ourselves. That's why we want money, is because we have been handcuffed by the lack of money to some extent. There are things that we've all wanted to do in our life that we have not done yet, that if the money was there to do it, it'd have been done already.
Mhm.
Every one of us, okay? Until you get to that gazillion. The 220 million probably represents in your mind no handcuffs whatsoever, ever. Like, but until you understand the reason behind why you want the 220 million, you're not going to go out and manifest it because it doesn't have real meaning for you. When Wallace Wattles can convince you that you want to understand the principles of how the universe works so that you can manifest money as necessary and even above and beyond what you need but you know why you want the money, then the money will come. But you actually don't want the money. Here's another example, one of my own. And I was making good money already. I could have bought this thing if I had wanted to buy it, but I was given a car. Okay. The story behind that is really simple. There was a car I saw in a picture, many pictures. I liked that car. I saw myself, visualize myself with the car driving it. It wasn't even like the one I want. Like I had others that I like cars a lot. So I had others that were higher on the list. It probably even meant more to me, but I had more energy blocks around it. And then this one showed up. And instead of, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this car? All I did was have fun in my imagination with the car as if it was mine. I probably did that half a dozen to a dozen times over a short period. It didn't even hit a vision board necessarily, but I was with that. But instead of trying to figure out how to do it or anything, I just enjoyed the experience in my imagination. I let it go. And it wasn't even, again, on my list as things I wanted. But a little bit later down the road, I became business partners with someone. Now, this guy did not own that car. And I never told him I wanted that car. And he takes off, goes to California on a trip, says, hey, I'm getting a car. He comes back with that car. Okay. Literally everything about the car was the exact car. I didn't tell him about that. I didn't tell him it was the car because it wasn't even, again, the top of my list, and I wasn't trying to get one or anything like that. And he drove it around for about 3 or 4 months. I forget the exact number of months. But he said, you know what, Kevin? He goes, I don't know why, but the car just doesn't feel like me. Totally reminds me of you. It does, but it doesn't feel like me. Totally reminds me of you. Would you like to drive the car? Well, what do you mean? Well, if you'll just pay for the gas and maintenance right now, I already own the car. If you just pay for the gas and maintenance, you can go ahead and drive it as much as you want. I ended up driving that car for 9 months, and I just had to pay for gas and maintenance. It wasn't a Toyota Corolla or something like that. It was a 6-figure car. It was a BMW M650i convertible with a sticker price of around $130,000. I didn't need money in a bank sitting in a pile to get the car. God in the universe can use any channel to deliver to you whatever it is that you want. What I wanted was the freedom, and I happen to like that type of car. Okay. But that represented something to me. But money to God in the universe are kind of irrelevant. But because of the society that we live in, that's our means of exchange. But money was involved in that transaction. It just wasn't mine. My buddy Zach, my partner, he had the money that bought the car. And how did he get the money? Through a business he could, right? There is always money, though, involved in the transactions because of the society that we live in. Somebody somewhere had to pay something to make that thing happen. So the other reason you might want the 220 is you're going to help other people, and you might be a channel. You're not the source, but you might be a channel God uses to bless somebody else's life.
Mhm.
But until you actually really know what you want, which is not really probably a pile of cash, okay, what you really want, and you get clear about what you want, it's going to be hard for the 220 million to actually show up.
I mean, I think I'm very clear about what I want.
You want a pile of money in the bank.
I do. I want the security of it. I'm getting older. I want to know I have enough for old age, enough for any health problems. Yeah.
hmm But again, your brain is not accepting 220 million, or you would have had it a long time ago.
I guess so. I don't know why not.
Well, I do know why not. It's because what you want, here's what you should focus on. What
Go ahead.
does what does security look like and feel like to you? Forget the money. What would in your life, the way you envision security or the way you envision health or whatever it is that you might have concerns for your future going forward, what is it that you want your life to actually be like? That's the vision to hold of what it is that
Mhm.
you want. And then if 220 million is required to make that happen, it'll show up. I mean,
Okay.
you'll have to take some steps and follow intuition, inspiration, revelation, but you will intuitively know how to go receive it. God will provide it, the universe will provide it, and you'll know the steps to take to go get it, but only when you're clear of what your life looks like. And you have to, that's how you would manifest it, is to live in your mind the way you want to be living already. It looks to me like you're probably already living pretty happily, joyfully. I mean, you enjoy what you're doing.
Hmm.
You doesn't sound like you're in this big rush to retire, or
I'm
maybe you
not.
are. Okay.
I mean,
I mean, as long as you enjoy what you do, right? So
yep.
that's not a concern. I don't know if there's any health issues going on right now, or are there health issues for others around you or been around you that make you think that it could happen to you?
No, I mean, probably my own health issues that it could cause situations in the future.
Okay.
And aging just isn't cute. It's just not cute. I don't care who you are. Aging is not cute. And lots of things can happen.
Sure.
So,
Well, you look pretty terrific. Okay. So,
you. Thank you. I try. I still feel like I'm 35, but
there you go. There you go. So,
worship doesn't say so.
yeah. So you're better off actually for maybe the first 5 or 10, 15 minutes when you wake up in the morning and right before you go off to sleep, is go use your imagination and play with yourself living the life the way you want to live it. If there is a bigger home that you want to have, then the way to manifest the home might be to make a bunch of money. It also could come to you in a lot of different ways, just the same way that car came to me. Because I've done both. I've made a lot of money and I've received stuff of what would be pretty high monetary value that was given to me or pretty easily. And I personally didn't have to go buy it, even when I could have gotten bought it. That wasn't the channel God chose to bring it to me. I had to
Mhm.
stay open. What I did though is I had fun. I imagined. I went to that place in my mind, and then I didn't give it any doubts, worries, or fears, and I wasn't trying to figure out how to get it.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I have done that. I think I did that for numerous years.
And you
So,
probably receive things as a result. You just haven't received. You had to have received some things as a result. If you're feeling good and doing good and thinking good, then life has to have been pretty good.
yeah, yeah. But it's only because, again, creating different ways of thinking.
hmm Yeah,
And, when you get to a certain age, it's like, for myself now, I have done everything that I've wanted to do.
there you
I,
go.
I had to smile when you say we always want to do more, we always want to do more, but I
Well,
don't. I don't.
Well, it's not always on, when I say more, on a cumulative level either. Okay. It could be you're doing what you like doing and you want to do it for longer. Like you're already
Mhm.
enjoying your life. You don't want it to end. You don't,
Right.
it sounds to me like you want money in the bank so that the life that you're actually kind of enjoying right now, you're not concerned about a dip somewhere as a result of something else happening.
Right. Right. Right.
And I mean, unless unless you had some weird, funky, strange, disease that cost 220 million to cure it.
I don't know where that number came from. I don't know why or how. I don't know.
And again, for me, once upon a time, it was 20 million. Okay. Because I looked at NBA players at the time, this was years ago, because now they make even more. Okay, what do the top 10 make? And not that I could be one, because I'm not. Okay, that's not my talents, abilities. But I just looked and said, hey, they do what they want to do. Not most of them. They have fun doing what they're doing, and they're paid a lot of money to do what they want, and they work less hours than I do. So why can't I live a life like that? 20 million, what represented to me was a life like that.
Yeah.
But what I've come to find out is, yes, I'm on my way towards that, but I haven't hit that yet. But what I figured out too is it didn't take $20 million on the way to get there to actually give me a ton of freedom and a ton of options, right?
Right.
But in my mind, that was representative. But what I had to do is actually decide what life would look and feel like and go imagine that and quit trying to figure out how to do it as my first step.
Okay.
First step is quit trying to figure out how to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's what drives most people bananas.
Yeah. I don't know that I spend a lot of time thinking about how to do it. It's just that, I just brought it up just because.
And that's why I'm not making fun or anything. That's why I'm like 220 million for certain people. That's not even enough money.
Right. Yeah.
But for what it is that they're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
For what it is that they're actually doing in the world and for others and for themselves, 220 million wouldn't actually get the job done.
Right.
Elon Musk with 220 million can't do much. I know that sounds funny, but based upon what he's trying to accomplish, that wouldn't do a whole lot.
I guess it stemmed from Jack Canfield's portion of The Secret, where he decided on a dollar amount of $100,000, and he didn't know how he was.
What did he say right after that, though? I didn't know how I was going to do it. We decided on the number, but what was his exercise that he did?
Just to open, just to be aware of
He
different
said, and
aspects.
what I did every day is I would look up. He had the check on the ceiling, but the other thing that he did is he said I would visualize myself living $100,000 lifestyle.
Right. True.
That was the part, and he didn't concern himself with the how. And he said, for about 90 days, nothing came to me. But he didn't stop the process, and he didn't doubt the process.
Yeah.
He just went with the process.
Right. But he said, choose a dollar amount that seems absolutely outrageous to you. So I did.
Yeah, that's cool. But you haven't continued on with the other part Jack asked you to do.
Okay. All right.
The 220 in a bank account doesn't mean enough to you, or you would have manifested it.
All right.
You could disagree with me, but
I'm
just telling you how it works.
Yeah, I'll have to think about it because I haven't thought about it for a long time.
Yeah, awesome. So I know we're past time. But I'll stay even a little longer because there may be another 1 or 2 or 3 of you that might have a question, and we won't go nearly this long or in depth. But anybody else have any questions or comments that they would like to share? And if you need to go, I'm not holding you hostage. Anybody that needs to go, I know that we were supposed to have been done a while ago. So, any questions or comments from anybody else? So everybody has everything they want, all the money, all the wealth they could ever want in their lives. You already have it. Awesome. I hope y'all will share with me what you did and share with everybody else too. No, that's cool. Just a little bit of shyness. That's okay. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys hopefully going on with us next week.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, guys.